Too late, Tom was yanked into the earth, swallowed into nothingness. Only blood splattered Jake's horrified face, hot, fresh, and not quite human. Jake collapsed, gasping. The town of Ashmore sits isolated on the edge of a dense pine forest in Maine, where winter lingers and the fog never fully lifts. Cobblestone streets slick with moss, moldy wooden houses, and the faint toll of the church bell every evening paint a picture both serene and chillingly eerie. The locals live slowly, wary of strangers, always whispering about old tales they call local legends. Shadowy figures lost in the woods, flickering lights in the graveyard, and curses whispered under the moonlight. Jake Harper sat alone in a dim corner of the rundown bar called the Hollow Oak, clutching a lukewarm beer. His gaze drifted to the grimy window, where the rusted fence of Ashmore's graveyard glinted under pale moonlight. The wind howled, carrying the clinking of a battered road sign, scraping like metal shrieking in the dark. Jake once had hope, a decent job, a small home, and a girl who loved him with all her heart, Emily Carter. But hope had been ground down by harsh reality. Rejected job applications, mounting bills, and the scornful glares from Margaret, Emily's mother, every time Jake crossed their threshold. She didn't need words. Her icy stare and faint, snow-like smile said it all. He was a failure unworthy of her daughter. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Jake pulled it out, the cracked screen displaying a text from Tom Riley, an old friend who worked at the graveyard. Life-changing opportunity. Emerald necklace buried with old man Hawthorne. Tonight, full moon, you in. Jake frowned, rereading the message. That necklace, a priceless family heirloom, came with grim rumors. They said it was cursed. Anyone who touched it met a tragic end, but Jake didn't care. Two words echoed in his mind like a call from the depths: change everything. Outside the window, the full moon rose above thick gray clouds, large as an eye watching the sleeping town. Its cold silver light bathed the old gravestones, casting shadows that writhed like arms reaching from the earth. Jake gripped his phone, a fierce glint in his eyes. He had nothing left to lose. And those with nothing to lose are the most dangerous. Jake met Tom in a shadowy corner of the Hollow Oak, where dim yellow light cast gaunt faces like wax masks. Tom had changed since their school days. His eyes darted nervously, hands trembling from cheap cigarettes and long nights guarding the graveyard alone in the cold. You sure he was buried with the necklace? Jake asked, voice hoarse after his third beer. Tom nodded, glancing around as if afraid a ghost was eavesdropping. I saw it myself. When they lowered the coffin, the lid popped open. Something glinted green like foxfire. An emerald the size of a thumb right on his neck. Jake stayed silent. Tom leaned closer, whispering like he was confessing a sin. They say it's cursed. The Hawthornes got it from Africa last century, killed a whole tribe to take it. Since then their family's been dying off. No one lives past 30. No one has kids. The family line's dead. Hawthorne was the last. Jake smirked. Then we're not taking it for kids. We're taking it to change our lives. Let's split it 50-50 tonight. Tom nodded. That evening, Lisa, Jake's girlfriend, noticed something off. He was quiet, startled in his sleep, muttering nonsense. His eyes were sunken, dark circles framing an obsession, as if he'd brought something else back from the graveyard. Every time she touched him, Jake shuddered like he was cold from the inside. That night, Jake walked alone through the rusted graveyard fence. Streetlights flickered like dying breaths. In the milky fog, he stopped. Among the crooked tombstones, a figure stood, a little girl in a white dress, her long hair hiding her face. Jake called out, no answer. He stepped closer, but the figure melted into the fog as if it had never been. His heart pounded. The air turned icy. A gust swept through, the streetlight flared and went out. In that dark moment, he heard something small and shrill, like a child's laugh. He spun around, straining to hear nothing. Then, right at the back of his neck, where the cold seeped into his bones, a voice whispered, neither male nor female, old nor young, "You'll go down there too." Jake froze, lips dry. He turned, but only the empty graveyard stared back, tombstones glaring under the moonlight. The wind howled again, carrying the scent of cold earth and something sharp like rust. The full moon hung in the sky like a lifeless eye staring down at hollow hills. Its silver light pierced thin clouds, spilling patchy shadows like a burial shroud. The streets were deserted, every window shut tight, as if the town held its breath, waiting for something to happen. A thick fog blanketed the ancient graveyard, where hundreds of weathered tombstones crowded together like restless corpses. The air was heavy, damp, like breath rising from deep within the earth. Jake and Tom stood silently before Jeremiah Hawthorne's grave, shovels in hand, exchanging wordless glances. Both felt something was wrong, but neither dared say it. Only the wind wailed through barren trees, shrieking like someone sobbing in the night. "Let's do this quick as we can," Jake whispered. Tom nodded, driving his shovel into the dirt. Each scoop made an odd sound, not just earth falling, but something wet, heavy, and like the ground sighing. The shovel hit stone, dry roots, then something soft and moldy. The deeper they dug, the stronger the stench from below, not just rotting mud, but something like long-decayed flesh. Tom gagged once but kept going. At home, Lisa slept alone. The bedroom light flickered before going out. In her dream, Jake screamed in despair, hands clawing under thick dirt. His face was purple, eyes bulging, mouth full of mud, still calling her name. "Lisa, save, save." She jolted awake, heart racing. But what froze her was her hands. Under the moonlight streaming through the window, they were caked in fresh, wet dirt, clinging to her nails. She gasped. The room was so cold her breath turned to white mist. At the graveyard, Jake and Tom had dug nearly 6 feet. Sweat soaked their foreheads, clothes smeared with dirt, faces grimy. Suddenly, Tom shouted. Jake looked. The earth cracked, something black emerged like rotted bone. No, not bone. An ebony coffin entwined with roots like bony fingers clutching it tight. Carved into the lid was a sunken symbol, a snake swallowing its tail, encircled by strange, ancient runes. Each line seemed to bleed, though no cut appeared. Jake aimed his flashlight. A green glint flashed from a crack between the lid and the coffin's side. "The necklace," Tom whispered. The emerald's glow was so vivid it bathed their faces in an eerie, hypnotic hue, like a demon's gaze. Tom couldn't look away, entranced. "Don't touch it," Jake warned, his voice trembling. They crouched, ready to clear the remaining dirt and open the lid. Then, both froze, 3 distinct knocks, clear, coming from inside the coffin. No one had touched it. No branches fell, no rats. The knocks repeated. Cold, patient, Tom dropped the flashlight. Its beam swayed, casting jagged light on nearby tombstones, where old inscriptions seemed to writhe, reciting the names of the dead. Jake stepped back, sweat chilling his spine. Then a breath, not theirs. A cold gust escaped the coffin's crack, icy as frost, carrying the scent of human ash and moldy moss. In that breath they heard a whisper, faint like an echo from the grave's depths. "We are not done." Jake turned to Tom, but Tom was pale, lips quivering, eyes wide and unblinking. Jake didn't know if it was fear, or the thing crawling up from beneath his feet. The fog swirled like wandering spirits, encircling the pit where the ebony coffin lay exposed. The knocks from within still echoed in Jake and Tom's minds, though silence now reigned. They stood frozen, hearts hammering as if to break their ribs. A cold sweat dripped from their brows despite the biting night air. Jake looked at Tom, voice shaky with fear. We should cover it back up, now." Tom didn't respond. His eyes were locked on the necklace glowing vividly through the coffin's crack. The emerald at its center seemed alive, swirling into his mind, whispering hollow promises, power, glory, immortality. "Leave it, Tom. That thing doesn't belong to us." Jake grabbed his friend's arm, but Tom was resolute. A spark of greed replaced his fear. He gently pushed Jake aside and placed his hand on the coffin's lid. The wood was freezing, like metal, and damp as if dragged from a riverbed. Tom took a deep breath and shoved with both hands. The lid creaked open. A bone-chilling screech rang out like bones grinding together. Inside, a man's body lay intact, untouched by decay. His skin was pale green, taut but dry as parchment, eyes shut tight. Silver hair draped over his temples. Around his neck, at the center of his collarbone, was the necklace. Jake gasped, "God, he's still whole." As Tom lined in, ignoring everything but the emerald's radiant glow. His trembling fingers reached out, nearly touching. The moment his fingertips brushed the necklace, a green flash erupted like lightning from the earth. The light pierced Tom's eyes and he screamed in agony. Then Jeremiah Hawthorne's eyes opened. Blank white, no pupils, no life, but staring, piercing. A sudden whirlwind arose, though the ground stayed still. Grass, dust, leaves all swirled into a vortex. The pit shook. The surrounding earth cracked, as if the entire graveyard was waking. A whisper came from the corpse's mouth, not in sound, but in thought. "No one takes it." Jake stumbled back, gripping the shovel defensively, panicked. But Tom, thrown back by the gust, still reached for the necklace. Jake shouted, "Don't." And then something unimaginable happened. Tom turned and shoved Jake into the pit. "Sorry, Jake," he hissed. "I need it." Jake had no time to react. He fell beside the coffin, slamming into its rotting wood. Before he could climb out, a black hand, not Tom's, grabbed his ankle. Tom looked down, face ashen. From beneath the coffin, other fingers emerged from the earth, gray, elongated, festering like claws pulling Tom back. "No," Tom screamed, clawing at the pit's edge. His nails dug into the wood, leaving bloody streaks, skin torn, flesh ripped, exposing bone. Jake struggled, trying to pull Tom up, but an unseen, unstoppable force dragged him down. "Jake, please." Too late, Tom was yanked into the earth, swallowed into nothingness. Only blood splattered Jake's horrified face, hot, fresh, and not quite human. Jake collapsed, gasping. He crawled in panic, mind reeling, thoughts chaotic. Before he could regain his senses, a flapping sound came from above. Thud. A black owl, nearly human-sized, dove from the darkness, its razor-sharp claws sinking into Jake's shoulder. He screamed as they tore deep into his flesh, ripping the skin above his left cheek. Blood poured warm. Jake flailed, swinging the shovel wildly, forcing the owl back. It perched on a nearby tombstone, red eyes glaring, then slowly turned its head in a full, unnatural circle. The air thickened as if a gate had opened. The surrounding graves trembled. Jake dragged himself from the pit, one hand clutching his bleeding wound, the other pressing into the soggy ground. Thunder rumbled above. Black clouds rolled in, swallowing the moon's last light. He heard Tom's echo in the wind, faint, distant, sinking into the earth. Don't take it, don't. Jake reached the pit's edge, his palm touching solid ground when lightning struck. A bolt exploded a nearby willow, then branched into a web of electricity, sweeping the ground like a tidal wave. A stray arc hit Jake directly, his body convulsed, pain seared like thousands of needles piercing him. His heart seemed to stop, then thudded, slow, heavy, weak, everything blurred. Wind screamed in his ears. Thunder roared like funeral drums. The graveyard became a whirlwind of hell, with dozens of eyes opening from surrounding graves. Jake crawled forward just a little more, but before he could escape the pit's edge, his consciousness snuffed out like a candle in the wind. His body collapsed onto the cold earth, amid thunder's relentless roar, a warning. Those who touch the necklace must pay. Jake woke in the hospital, skin scorched and mottled, hands bandaged, body aching as if torn apart. The smell of antiseptic and the cold fluorescent lights dazed him, but his first words weren't a plea or a question, just a mumbled echo from hell. The shadow in the earth, it's rising. Doctors and nurses looked at him with pity and unease. They said he'd been struck by lightning, found unconscious near the Hawthorne graveyard during a storm. No one mentioned Tom, no one asked about the dug-up grave. It was as if that night never happened, except in Jake Harper's shattered mind. Lisa visited the next morning. She sat by his bed, eyes sunken with worry. But Jake didn't look at her. He stared out the window where gray skies and light rain lashed the town's ancient rooftops. Jake, Lisa's voice trembled, touching his hand. I brought it back, Jake whispered, lips cracked, eyes unblinking. It's looking for a keeper. Lisa recoiled, heart racing. She felt a chill not from the weather, but from Jake's skin, as if it no longer belonged to the living. News of Tom shocked her further. Police found only dried blood, a collapsed pit, and claw marks on its edge, but no body. The papers called it a mysterious disappearance. Jake said nothing, just gave a bitter laugh at Tom's name, then muttered about pacts, keepers of the relic, and no escape. After discharge, Jake returned home, but Lisa soon realized he was no longer himself. He didn't sleep, eat, or talk. All day, he sat in the living room with quill and charcoal, silently covering the walls with warped, bizarre symbols. Lisa photographed them, searched online, but found no matching script except one symbol, two interlocking circles sliced by a vertical line. The same mark carved on Hawthorne's coffin. Jake grew frailer as if something drained his life. One night, Lisa returned from work to find the front door wide open, lights flickering, and a heavy smell of damp earth filling the house. She ran in, calling Jake's name in desperation. The bathroom door was ajar. In the tub, Jake lay motionless. His mouth was full of dirt, lips blue, hands clutching something. When Lisa pried it open, she saw a fragment of the broken emerald necklace caked with dry mud and clotted blood. Jake was dead, but the haunting didn't stop. That night, Lisa couldn't sleep. She huddled on the couch, eyes wide, staring at the ceiling where the locked attic lay above. Rain pattered steadily on the tin roof, but amid its rhythm, she heard another sound. Soft as a breath, like a whisper from a distant realm. "Lisa, can you hear it? I brought it back for you." Faint footsteps echoed from the attic, like barefoot steps of the dead, unwilling to leave the living world. Lisa clutched her head, covering her ears, but the whisper crept through. "We'll never be apart."